Welcome to Safe and Sound, sponsored by White Mountain Fire and Life Safety and Ladies Day LLC. Today on the show we have Kirk Webb, the Lakeside Fire Marshal, and Brian Russell, the Show Low Fire Marshal. Welcome back, guys.
How you doing?
Wonderful, wonderful. Glad to have you guys here.
Glad to be back.
How about you, Russell? Excited?
Never been here, so we'll try this one.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to talk about Ready, Set, Go.
And our Ready, Set, Go is a program that we've just recently, we've been using this for about 2 years now. So they're going into our third year, and it's a national program that's out there dealing with communities that are built within the wildland-urban interface, which that means basically we have a community in the forest. And, and especially, with some of the recent fires that we've had the last, about 10, 12 years even,
They've been bad.
We've had some pretty severe fires here in Arizona. Two of the largest ones, the Rodeo Chetasky fire and also the Wallow fire, combined was almost 1 million acres of forest that burned up in between those two fires. So
I'm surprised we have anything left.
Yeah. So this is a program that we're trying to get out to the public to give them a guide on what they can do around their homes to help protect their property, because the fire departments can't come and take care of everybody's own personal property. That's the responsibility of the homeowner. So this is a program that we're using to help go out there and share and relate to the public what the things simple things that they can do, because I think some cases it may be overwhelming to them, and then they don't, I don't know where to start, and then they don't do anything. Well,
and what I remember from the PowerPoint is it simplifies the process for people. I understand that a lot of people look at this as a refresher, which is a good thing, and that's a positive for us, because we went out, and I know you guys will go out this year and discuss with a lot of homeowners associations. They did meetings at the fire departments to get that information out, and for the newcomers to the mountains, this is vital to know.
So there's a lot of good information in here, and like you say, we just trying to keep it simple.
Absolutely. So want to show?
We're gonna start off. There's a video here that is part of this program, and we'll go with that.
I got very panicked because I could see flames right behind our house on the hills, on the ridge, and that's when I started getting ready.
I ran upstairs long enough to get my purse and the car keys, and by the time I ran downstairs, our house was on fire.
The winds were out of control.
It's amazing how fast the whole thing happened.
It was a blizzard of embers.
When the embers started flying in, big chunks of them, that's when we really panicked and we said, now it's time to go.
I told my daughter, pack things like you are not going to come back.
It was absolutely, it was like Armageddon.
Wildfires can be as unpredictable and uncontrollable as the winds that often drive them. Fire moves dangerously fast. It is wild, powerful, and erratic. You never know when or where a fire will start or end. Homes near natural areas, what firefighters call the wildland-urban interface, are beautiful places to live. The natural beauty of these areas adds to the quality of life, but not without risk. Fires are a part of their ecology. Living near the wildland means living with the threat of wildfire. That's why we're introducing the Ready, Set, Go program, a wildfire action plan that gets you, the resident, involved early on in protecting your home. We are going to teach you how to properly prepare your house, your family, and pets for the next wildfire. Our goal is to have residents following our evacuation orders early with the knowledge that they've done everything they can to protect their homes. There are two major ways to make your home wildfire ready so you can go early as the fire approaches. The first step in preparation is adding or retrofitting your home with fire-resistive building construction features.
Hardening the home is a term that we're using for taking those measures necessary to protect your home from flames, radiant heat, and ember intrusion.
To get more information on making your home and property wildfire ready, check with your local fire department. The other step in preparing for a wildfire is creating defensible space.
Defensible space is a buffer between the flaming front and your home. By keeping the vegetation down and away from your home, this allows for reduction of direct flame impingement on your house.
Firefighters always recommend that you comply with any evacuation order and go early. Staying and ignoring an evacuation order may be a fatal mistake. Most brush fire fatalities occur when people evacuate too late and are overtaken by a fast-moving fire. To avoid this, be ready for evacuations well before they are ordered.
So that's why we're talking to you today, is to let you know that get out early. Don't stay. Don't think you're going to survive in these environments. It's not going to happen.
Leaving early doesn't just give you, your family, and pets the best chance of survival, it also leaves the roads open for firefighters to move around more freely.
When we're looking at an evacuation, we have to give ourselves enough time for that entire area to evacuate. So you can't look at it as just how long is it going to take me personally to evacuate, because you're not accounting for a lot of different things that could potentially go wrong.
When I see all the things that were melted, in our case, we would not stay.
It's not important to me. You know, my house is perishable, and you know, I have good insurance, but all that means is I just want to take care of my kids.
A fire is not worth your life.
In the end, remember, your safety and the safety of your family should be your #1 priority. It's a high-risk gamble to stay during a wildfire. Know all the consequences of staying and everyone it affects. The best bet is to get your home wildfire ready now. Be set when the fire comes and go early.
Now that was a powerful video. I don't know how many of you guys have lived through the Wallow fire or the Rodeo Chudeskai fire that we've had. You understand that what happens with a fire and how serious it is, especially up here. And we have some slides that we're going to talk about
right.
those.
This first one we have here is just a brief picture of the Wallow fire and how intense the flames can get. This, as you saw in the video, that fire moves very fast. And so, like you're saying, talking about evacuations, when it's time to get out, it's time to get out.
Absolutely. I know I wasn't here during the Rodeo Chudeskai fire. I mean, I lived up here, but I wasn't with the fire department at that time. And I heard rumor that the fire was so hot during the Rodeo Chudeskai fire, it was blowing up propane tanks before the fire even got there.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think, if you're staying in your house, that's what, a half a mile of heat that you're going to get before you even get the intense flames.
Yeah. And just to kind of give you an idea of what we do as firefighters, and every morning we get together, we have a morning briefing, and then as they go off to work, they're walking single file, because when you're fighting a fire in the forest, you can't do it like you do in fighting a structure fire. You can't carry a whole lot of water on your back. So your tools to fight this fire with are what you can carry in your hand. And so you have to be quite a ways ahead of to get rid of that fuel. And that's really kind of the only way we have in some cases to get rid of forest fires. Around people's houses, and that's where we want to start getting to concentrating. If we have the opportunity, we'll actually do some burnout operations around these homes to try to make an area that's free of stuff that can burn. So we actually burn off, fight fire with fire. And so this is kind of an example of what like that, because we can, in this controlled situation, we can actually clear off the stuff that's on the ground, and that keeps it from being able to travel up into the trees.
And that would only happen if the moisture's good. And what we've had this season is nothing. I mean, this probably didn't happen this year.
No, we're getting pretty dry at this time of year, which is a little too early for a normal season. For usually we still have snow on the ground at this time. And right now we don't. You can see in this picture where people have piles of wood close to their house, if that stuff were to catch on fire and you have a concentrated pile of wood, well, if it's close enough to the house, it's going to catch that house on fire, because it's creating enough intense heat for the radiation itself just catches the house on fire. So we'll scatter the wood, things like that. That's if we have time. And you can see here the amount of smoke that these fires will create. I mean,
Now,
just
when you talk about scattering the wood and stuff, that's not like you're not going to go and do these to the homes. Only if there's a fire threatening the home, you'll try to do what you can to save the house.
right. If we have time ahead of the fire, in a lot of cases we don't. Sometimes we do, and we will go through a subdivision, and if we have time, we'll try to mitigate some of the things that we foresee as a problem.
Okay, rumor has it, and people have said this to me, well, they go through, the fire department goes through and they write off houses. If that house is not savable, they're not going to mess with it. Is that
You know,
true?
and that's not true.
Okay.
We try every possible trick in the book, or whatever you want to call it, to save people's properties. Of course, first and foremost is our own safety. Because if we're not safe, we can't help anybody else.
Yeah, but if they have a house with a tree going through the middle of it, what are you going to do?
And the next important safety feature is other people's lives. And that's why evacuation is important. We'll talk about that a little bit too. And that's what's nice about this Ready, Set, Go program. It encompasses everything. We actually have little brochures, pamphlets that help guide you, walk through this stuff. So, you know, and what we're talking about really is called defensible space. You know, and so they've created an area around your house, and they've marked it off into zones. You got zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. Now, not everybody has enough room around their home to be able to qualify for every one of these zones. In some cases, people may only have enough area is zone 1. Zone 1 is typically the house and then 30 feet away from the house. So in some cases, I know I lived in a house here in Show Low that 5 feet away was the next person's property. So I don't even get 30 feet out. And so there's lots of different variables, but when we're talking about defensible space, we look at trying to minimize the hazard, because the most important thing on your property is what? Besides yourselves.
Well, yeah, your home.
Exactly, your structure, and that's what we're looking at trying to save. So what are the things that we can do to help you understand to protect your home? So that first zone, you try to get rid of anything that's. Now, does that mean we have to cut down every single tree up against the house?
Absolutely not.
No.
Just packing cement. No.
Yeah, no. So and people get the misconcept that we're asking people to level every tree, and that's not the case. If there's a tree up close to the house, well, we look at, okay, what in this tree is going to catch this house on fire? Is there dead branches? Is there, what other items? There's ladder fuels.
We want to really get rid of the misconception, because this program has been beaten to death by lack of education. There's nothing that says you can't have a tree within 10 feet of your home. We just simply say, clear out the pine needles, clear out the ladder fuels. And by ladder fuels is anything that would help the fire grow off of the ground level into the trees. Realistically, it is just doing just that. It's creating a defensible space with what you have. So we're not expecting the world to be paved with concrete and no trees, no grass, no shrubs.
Well, it looks nicer too. I mean, if you look at what the reservation's able to do with their land, thinning it and clearing it out, it's beautiful. And you look at what we're allowed to do with our land, it's just a mess.
And this is actually healthier. They've proven that this is a healthier forest by going in and thinning and doing the maintenance required.
A lot of people, I hear, well, I can't cut my trees down because then I won't have a forest anymore. And actually having too many trees on your property is unhealthy. They're all, if you ever wondered why you got so many small trees, it's because they're all starving for the same water. So those are a lot of things that you can do as far as that goes, is thinning out the trees, and if you like the larger trees, which personally I like the larger ones myself, in order to have a good, healthy large tree, you got to get rid of all the small ones. Same thing like gardening. When you're gardening, you get rid of all the weeds, you get rid of even corn. If you plant corn, usually put 4 or 5 in a hill, and then once they come up, you save the best 1 or maybe 2, and you pluck all the other ones out. Same thing with trees. When we talk about hardening the home, there's things that we can do to our house. Living in the forest, some of the best siding is probably that type of siding that's non-flammable, such as...
you got the hardy board cement board, you've got fiber board, you've got composite shingling. There's a lot of construction materials that can be used that are not flammable. that
if you're
still
gonna-
give you the appearance of a good mountain cabin, if that's the aesthetic that you're looking for.
So if you're one of those people that have the opportunity to build, you know, especially in a rural area and something that we've been threatened by fires before, it might be smart to think in this matter.
Absolutely.
Just the simple fact of having dual pane windows, it creates a barrier between that radiant heat and starting things on fire inside the home. If you have the old single pane windows, and most windows are getting changed out just because it's so hard to heat a house with just a single pane window. The dual pane windows helps insulate that and keep that radiant heat from starting a fire inside the house even. Things like that. Roofing materials, going with a good roof. If you have a fireplace, making sure there's no branches close by to the chimney, and you know, we actually recommend 10-foot separation between branches and roofs or chimneys, things like that. So a lot of simple things that you can do to make your house more fire safe in the forest, basically.
Wonderful.
There's balconies and decks. You know, those are something else that, you know, in the Rodeo Chetasky fire, I noticed a lot of houses that burned up. The deck underneath was open, and you know, how often do we have wind up here? It's pretty much kind of a ongoing, nonstop, 24/7 sometimes, and all the leaves and trash and things like that, it likes to go right up underneath that deck. Well, and that leaves and garbage and that kind of stuff, that's perfect kindling. And those, when we get the fire that comes through, we may have embers. We were having embers flying from those fires.
We had ember cast anywhere between a half mile to a mile advanced of the head of the fire. So
if those embers are blowing, and they're going to go right up, the wind's going to carry them right up underneath where that deck is, and so it's going to catch that deck on fire, then there goes the house. Or even the same thing with balconies. So if we know that there's a fire coming, what we recommend to people is get the stuff that's on their decking and balconies and stuff like that. If it's combustible, get them off, move them out in the yard. Because if they're going to burn, let them burn out there, not on the deck, because then that gives a chance for the deck to catch on fire. The area of the deck underneath, seal it off. Either make it solid to where there's nothing can get under there, at least keep it clean. So things like that. There's different ways to take care of the decks and to seal that off to keep stuff from going under there. You know, up here in the wintertime, we like to burn wood in stoves, fireplaces, things like that. You know, in the wintertime, it's not so bad to have, because I don't like to run out in the snow and have to get a stick of wood to put back in the fire. So yeah, I put it a little closer to the house. But come summertime, we need to move those log piles. If we still have wood piles and stuff like that, keep them out away from, and we actually recommend 20 to 30 feet away from the house.
And we're in the city limits, and my husband moves it every summer. He moves it away from the house. Well, and I have a nice little area I like in the front. I have little chairs that need to go there anyway. But.
And I've seen where some people actually build a little shed, and if it's all totally enclosed in and there's no way for embers, and it's basically becomes another small house for your wood. That's perfectly fine. That can even be right up against the house even. So it's protected like your house, things like that. You know, a simple thing that a lot of people, and this kind of actually relates back to medical calls, addressing. We cannot find people's addresses in some cases. Either it's the wrong address, we don't have the right address, it doesn't correspond with what we have in our mapping, and we're constantly working. That's one of the things that we've been tasked with as fire marshals, to make those corrections as they come up, and always constantly changing and making sure we match with what 911 is doing. And but if it's not posted, say we got a long driveway, if it's not posted out on the street, we may miss that driveway while we're, you know, so having your address clearly posted, and if you got a long driveway, have it at the street and on the house. Yep. Simple things like that, things that you don't think about.
I've had a lot of folks ask me, why is that so important in a small community? If you take into consideration Rodeo Chetasky, we didn't just have Show Low, Pine Top, Lakeside, Linden fire departments. We had fire trucks responding from Mesa, and these guys don't know our area. They don't know our response. So what's commonplace for us is not common for them. So finding them could be extremely difficult.
It's a very good point.
Next, what we're going to show you is just some pictures that I've taken around the community, And to kind of give you an idea of one, what we live with, and you can see in this picture right here where it's actually, they've been doing some work there. You can still see some of the ladder fields. You can see some of the stuff they've cut down. You want to be able to where you can see through and thin out to the point where it's a healthy forest, just like a garden. Because really what a forest is a large garden. You know, so we need to take, you know, in order to have a healthy forest, we need to thin it out. And Mother Nature actually used to take care of all that stuff years ago before we started fighting fires and stuff like that. If it got too thick, there was lightning would come in, start a fire, and it would appropriately thin it out, and then it start over again. And you know, but
now.
Yeah, now we've come in with modern technology, and shoot, we have what, 747s that drop fire retardant out of the sky to put these fires out with. And you know, so are we upsetting Mother Nature's balance? You know, who knows? I'm not going to get into that argument, but there are things that, in order to live within a forest and be safe, there's things that we need to do. So you can see where we talk about ladder fuels, anything that's on the ground that can carry a fire up to the tops of the trees. Because a fire can travel faster going from treetop to treetop than it does on the ground.
It's hotter too.
So you want it to kind of look more like this picture where there's nothing on the ground, it's cleaned up, everything around the house looks nice. So here's a log home, and you can see that there's very little ladder fuels, if any.
That could be a savable property,
right?
No wildfire.
And there's still a lot of trees in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it looks like it's in a forest, but is that fairly safe? Yeah, it is. This here is a section, I don't know how many people like to travel down Penrod Road. This is not too far from Jake's Marsh, right in one of the curves there. I think about milepost 1, I believe it is, on Penrod Road. And this is a very unhealthy section of the forest. And this isn't a spot where we're trying to work an arrangement with the Forest Service and fire districts and community partners, the towns and cities. And I would like to actually use this area. This is the other side of the road right there in the same spot. Have one side kind of be a before and after, where we can go in there and show, hey, this is unhealthy forest. Clear out the other side, and this is a healthy forest. Get some signs, and so we're working on a project to get that going. Maybe even working with some of the school-age kids to kind of teach them, because they're the ones that are going to be taking our place here before too long. Because I don't know that I'm going to be around forever, but
Russ will take over.
One of the other markers that we have is right on the reservation line. A lot of folks see that definitive break in the forest.
Oh yeah, it's
taking
obvious.
care of to not taking care of, and we can point that out to folks as saying, hey, next time you're on your way to Honda, look at the difference.
It's a dramatic difference. It's huge.
And here we've got a piece of property, and my biggest concern in our districts, is what I see is vacant property. Here's a piece of vacant property off of Larson Road. And you can see they're clearing it out, so there's still piles and stuff, and they'll take care of it. But even having those piles, that's much safer than where it was before, where it was just so thick that you couldn't even see through it. Here's somebody's property, looks great, mm-hmm. and it's still, they're living in a forest, but their property is probably savable. You know, and getting into, because we're almost out of time here, and you know, the evacuation becomes very important.
Well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have Tony on for evacuation, Garver.
Nice.
And we'll hit this. So we'll focus more on the defensible space today, because it is important, and people need to understand that they can protect their home. And what does the fire department do to help them? I know that you have a
You know, we've started a program a couple of years ago. We call it the Red Tag, Green Tag program. We actually go to each individual property. The first year we did it within the Lakeside Fire District, we went door to door to every home, and so we didn't even hit the vacant properties to begin with, and we basically did a very simple assessment. We have a little check-off list that the crews went out with, and they checked it off, and they left a door hanger or talked to the people if they were home. So we left a lot of door hangers, and we found out that a lot of people probably didn't get those door hangers, never heard of it. And then we kind of created a map, color map, to try to figure out, isolate which was our areas of concern. Even though we kind of knew, but having this map with red and green showing on it, it helped us isolate. So the second year we went back and we concentrated in smaller areas. And there we went to every piece of property, whether it was vacant or had a home or not. And if they got a red, and that's, you know, like we talked about earlier, if you get a red tag, are we going to not try to save your property? No, not at all. Basically, we want to give you the information to know what to be able to do to work at making your property more savable.
Now, if people are interested in this red tag, green tag, they can get with the fire departments to help
right,
with
and
them.
we're going to look at helping that with Show Low this year.
We'll actually be starting that here pretty quick, and we'll be starting on the south end of town and working our way north. And by all means, I mean, if you get a red tag, call us, and we can help explain how to make your property more defendable. It's by no means a write-off. We can't make promises, but we can help you find how to make your place as savable as you can within your means.
And then the other thing going on is we're actually going to, you're going to have some homeowners association meetings, some community meetings,
Yes.
and we'll put a billboard on after this where people can see.
And if there's any group that wants to have this presentation, call us up. We'll get it to them.
Oh,
We'll bring it to them wherever. And I really like this last slide here. Think you can't go camping without a campfire? Try camping without a forest.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. And again, we'll have those dates for the meetings after the show. And this is a much more in-depth PowerPoint, so please come and listen. And any questions you have, contact the fire departments. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
This episode of Safe and Sound was sponsored by Ladies Day, LLC.